Jay here for Stretford, Paddock, and this is Fanzine Friday. It's making a return after a little bit of a hiatus. Joining me today is Rick Baxter from United We Stand. He's the man responsible for the covers for United We Stand for about, what is it, Rick, about 9 years? Been doing the covers?
Let's see, 2012. So, yeah, this is my 9th season doing it.
9 seasons, mate. So you've literally covered, like, from the happy times with Sir Alex to the not so happy
season,
times.
Yeah. In fact, there is a little joke amongst United We Stand people that everything was great until I came on board, and then it's gone downhill since. Football-wise, yeah. Not magazine-wise. Yeah.
I was about to
Obviously,
say
the magazine's gone much better since I've come on board.
Well, I think the magazine went downhill in about the mid-90s when I stopped selling it outside Old Trafford. Well,
Okay.
That's a different story.
Listen, you're welcome to come back any time and do it, because every so often we're a little short-staffed, and you have to drag the likes of me in, the talent.
Really?
Yeah.
You can't be having the talent out on the pavement with a box of fanzines. That's
exactly. I should be protecting my fingers for artistic reasons. You don't go on the set of Mission Impossible and tell Tom Cruise to start shifting the lights about, do you? Mind you, he probably would.
You probably do now with these deep fakes. Probably, yeah. Someone's probably created that. No, but I'll tell you what, mate. I might take you up on that offer. Times are hard.
Well, yeah.
But we get the same thing with the channel. We started when we were full-time Devils. We started in Fergie's last year. So obviously, things have gone really well since then. So yeah, a few people accuse us of a similar thing. We're going to talk about some of the covers that you've made over the years a little bit later. First of all, now, mate, I wanted to ask you about the latest one. Tell us a little bit about that, the story behind it, and also the fact that you turned it into a poster to raise some money.
Yeah, that's right. For anyone who's not seen it, it's a depiction of 22, although I've now adjusted it to 24 players, but it was originally 22 players, all black players who played for Manchester United. The reason being, although I'm slightly behind the times with the whole BLM movement and that kind of thing, but this was an opportunity to do it because I felt recently some of our players had come into some quite horrible, I won't go into details, but some quite horrible stuff online, unnecessary. I've no problem with people criticising players, but when you start introducing rather unsavoury elements into it as well, I just think that steps over a line, and I don't think it's something that any Manchester United supporter should be doing. I don't think it's anything that any football supporter should be doing, regardless of what club you support. So I just felt it was unfair. I placed Axel Tuansby, I should say, him at the forefront of the magazine, because I felt he was the one who came in for the worst of it. And I just wanted to basically show support that, 99.9% of fans don't think like that and are fully supportive and always have been, which is why the magazine celebrates the history of black players at United, going back as far as the likes of Remy Moses and Paul McGrath and Viv Anderson. And by doing so, I researched into it and discovered that it goes back as far as the 1960s, when we had a player called Dennis Walker, who unfortunately only made one appearance for United, but it's pretty much a landmark appearance, so very important, back in 1963. So he's on the cover, along with some of those other ones I've mentioned, right the way through the 90s with the likes of Ince, Parker, Cole, York, all the way through the 2000s with Nani, Anderson, just loads of players I loved watching, properly buzzed off playing for the club, regardless of the skin colour. I just wanted to celebrate that and just show the support that I have, and I know that United We Stand share with that.
No, it's a brilliant cover. It really is, mate. And I was looking at it, and I was like full of admiration for it. And like you said, I'll criticise players if I think they deserve criticism. We're not on the channel, we're not MUTV. We'll call it as we see it. But it's gone beyond the pale. Some of the criticism we've seen. There's never any justification for racist abuse, and that's what the likes of Axel Tuanzebe has had to put up with. And it amazes me that anyone would attack a player like that, regardless of whether he's your own player or not, even a rival player. I don't get it. So I'm glad that, that message is out there, that United fans and United We Stand in particular as a fanzine,
just
aren't about that.
Picking up on Axel, the sad thing was that I tagged when I posted it on Instagram to promote the fact that the magazine was now out, and that I'd done a poster as well to accompany it. I tried to tag him in because I tagged a lot of the other former players in, and I couldn't tag him in because he's obviously switched that functionality off. And that's the sad thing, that you can't get engaged with him in a positive way because of the way that people have engaged with him in a negative way. And that's a shame. But just to go back onto your original point, yes, I have also made I had such great feedback on the cover that I've turned it into a poster that is for sale, with all proceeds going to the Show Racism the Red Card charity. So feel free to have a look at that. I'm sure you'll put a link on some point.
Yeah, there's a link in the description. So
brilliant.
Go and check it out.
It's coming up there now. So you'll have to edit it in at that point.
Yeah, give us a bit of extra work there, Rick.
Just take a look at it. If you fancy buying it, brilliant. It'll go towards a great charity and not towards an extension for my house in any capacity. No, it won't. It won't.
I mean, yeah, listen, it's a great cause. Show Racism the Red Card. It's something that we've supported in the past, but not regardless of that. Yes, it's great to help that cause, but it's a great poster. Check it out. You'll see the cover there. You said it went up. It was 22. Now it's 24. Is that right? Can I hazard the two that have been added on? Can I hazard a guess?
Yeah, go for it. They're both black, by the way.
I might be wrong here. Is it Laurie Cunningham and Garth Crooks?
No, it wasn't. Although it wasn't. It was Dion Dublin, who I originally did. I left out. In fact, I'll explain the theory behind it in a second. And the other one was Chris Smalling, who I'd genuinely forgotten about.
Wow. It's not even bad enough that he had a manager that called him Mike Smalling. He's now got United's oldest fanzine, forgetting he played for the club less than 6 months after he left.
He's on there now. He's at the back now. Yes, but I mean, I had a lot of people come back to me. Laurie Cunningham and Garth Crooks were two of the ones who were suggested it should have been on there. Loads of people saying, where's such and such, and why have you missed this guy out? Just to explain, I only put one current player on, which is why there's no Marshall, Pogba, Rashford, even Jesse Lingard, who's technically still a current player with us. I only had the time and the energy to put one current player on. So that's why I chose Axel, because of the reasons I mentioned earlier. And obviously, I couldn't put every single player in our history. We've had Bellion, Overton, Jemba, Cleverson. So I had to sort of come up with a sort of rule system in the end. And it just came down to it came down to either appearances or if I just genuinely didn't like the player. And there is one key one that's missing, and I won't mention who it is, but he's not on there.
Right. Okay. If you don't want to mention it, that's fine. You can tell me.
It's a quiz. Comment below if you can guess who it is.
Who's the player that Rick deliberately left off because he didn't like him? But no, it's great, and I think Giggs is on there as well, isn't he? Am I right in thinking?
Giggs is on there, yes.
Because people have mixed race, Ryan Giggs. People.
That's right, and obviously that seems when the post first went out on Twitter, amazing the amount of people below who commented saying, why is Giggs on there? Or people saying, I totally forgot that Giggs was mixed race. So if anything, it's a bit of education for people as well.
It's great, and it's a good talking point, and it just shows that sort of rich history the club has got and the diversity we've had as with our players. And I'm with you. I grew up obviously as a young black lad growing up in Stretford, and my first experience going to the games, seeing the likes of Remy Moses, seeing a little bit later on the likes of Paul Ince and Viv Anderson and players like that, Paul Parker. It was good to feel like represented almost. Do you know what I mean? And it was as a little kid, looking up to these players and saying, if these guys can do it, then anyone can, any of us can. So yeah, and I think that it's brilliant that we're embracing that, and you've done a great poster there and a great cover as always. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of your covers as well, because as you said, you've been doing this now for 9 years. We've covered all the sorts of the ups and downs over that time with Manchester United. I'm just going to start talking. I'm just going to go into a few of them. There's loads that stand out. One that stood out for me was the one I was just looking at this today. It's got the Theatre of Dreams on it, and it's got 3 people more or less falling asleep. And this, I looked at the date, and this is during the Louis van Gaal era, right? So what made me laugh about this, you're a match going red like me, Rick, and during that time, some of the lads that I go to the game with, Tomo and a few others, that could have been a picture of us sat at the game because the football was like that. And at one point, I remember during a game once, and I don't mean at half time, I mean during the actual game when Van Gaal was manager, we were actually doing the United We Stand quiz with people around us joining in because the football was that boring.
Oh, totally! It was terrible, and that was another one that got great feedback because, like I say, it would be great to have been doing the covers during the 90s and 90s when we were just winning everything. But there is something really fascinating a bit about being able to do these during the kind of what we would call the dip, the not so great times, because it throws up a lot more controversy and talking points about players, about managers, about what's going on at the club, about the owners, that kind of thing. So it does actually fuel you with a lot more ideas. That particular cover, I should point out, was one of the few that somebody suggested that I did. I'll give Rob credit for that, who was the magazine designer at the time. He sort of gave me the title for it, if you like, which I thought it was brilliant. So and it was so apt, like you say. I mean, I think we come off a string of 12 0-0s in a row or something like that, and people haven't seen a goal scored at the Paddock end of United.
That's my end as well, yeah.
50 games or something daft. So it was great, and it just hit the mark. And that's the tough thing sometimes with doing the covers for the magazine, because I like to spend a lot of time on them. At least 2 to 3 weeks before the deadline for me is due, which is usually a week before the mag comes out. So you're talking almost 3 to 4 weeks before the mag hits the streets, and you've got to time what it is you're trying to say or talk about 4 weeks before it comes out. Now 4 weeks is a long time in football, especially the rate of games that we're playing at the moment. We could suddenly turn being mid-table into top of the league in 8 games. So it's a tricky one, trying to find that balance between what's going on and what you think's going to happen as well in the future coming up.
Yeah, I don't envy you with that one, mate, because like you say, 2 or 3 weeks is it's an eternity in football, and like form obviously goes up and down. Different players might come in or hit form or whatever. You said there with that one that you were given a bit of an idea from someone who suggested it. Is it just your own ideas that you work from mainly when you come up with some of these? We'll get into some of the covers a little bit later as well, but do you just sort of think what's going on at the club, what players are being spoken about? Is it sort of your call?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have to say thanks to Andy, who's the editor of the magazine, because he just gives me free rein completely. It's complete trust over what to put on the cover. A couple of times he will suggest a direction he wants it to go in if he felt, or he'll turn around and say it's not quite the right feeling at the moment. But generally, yeah, I do have free rein. But I don't try and. It's as tempting as it is. I don't try to force my personal points of view on through the cover. I try to gauge it off what the fans are saying or plays that they're particularly enjoying watching at the time. Just following people on Twitter and forums and things like that. You get quite a good sense of what's going on at the club, so you don't miss the mark with it.
No, I know you go to a lot of games as well when we're allowed to go. I'm sure that helps as well. I just wanted to ask you a little bit about one of the covers. I saw this. I think this is quite recent, actually. Yeah, is it? Well, say quite recent. Time flies. It's about a year ago. It's the Harry Gregg one, which was all over social media, and rightly so. And I saw it. I thought it was a fantastic cover. Where he's sort of referencing the fact that he went back into the plane after the Munich air crash and help survivors. Just a cover that sort of was very moving, really. I know it's like almost a cartoon imagery, but it was like, wow, that's really sort of emphasised, because what I liked about that as well is it's a little reminder, because some of the younger fans might not understand about Harry Gregg and what he did, and you seem to just get the tone just spot on with that, mate.
No, yeah, well, that's right. I tried to mix it with both what's currently going on at the club, current players, with little bit of history, retro sort of styles. But in this particular case, without wanting to sound quite mawkish, I'd always wanted in the 9-year span to do a Munich Air disaster based cover. But how the hell do you get the tone and the mood right without it coming across overly sentimental or insensitive in any way? So it always kind of had to keep pointing it to the back burner. And then unfortunately, Harry's untimely passing kind of gave me an opportunity to be able to do something around that theme, because I just thought that, and I still think that the story of his heroics that day is just like one of the most amazing things not just in football, but in sort of life in general, about what he did. And I know he didn't particularly enjoy going over it or being reminded about it or wanting even to be remembered by it. But I just thought it was such too strong a thing to ignore. And like you say, I had great, fantastic feedback. It's one of the best received covers I've ever done that. And for his family to get in touch and say how brilliant they thought it was and how touching and moving it was. And I think they even ordered a couple of the magazines off the back of that because they wanted copies of it. I mean, that's the best feedback you can get, really. The fact that I didn't mess it, I didn't get it wrong, I didn't mess it up, and I just got the right tone with it.
It's so difficult when you handle a subject like that, mate. And obviously, you know, you did really well. And if you're getting positive feedback on social media, you must be doing something right, because
yes. Yeah.
That's famously difficult to do. One of my favourite ones was the Paul Pogba back to life, back to reality one, because it sort of summed it up perfectly, and also the soul to soul song reference. I love that. You know, it did feel like that, didn't it? A little bit with United at the time, and with Pogba especially, and that seemed to sum it up. And things certainly went south very quickly, didn't they, under that Jose? But
yeah, well, I think even when he came, I think even at the time when that magazine landed, I was concerned, because he wasn't flavour of the month at all, even though we had just won the World Cup. I don't think anybody felt that's our player, that's our United player there winning the World Cup, like we would with, I don't know, if Fernandes went on to win it at this moment in time. So he wasn't a happy camp, and obviously the cover reflected that. I think I got away with that one though, because I spent quite a lot of time on the artwork. It's one of the ones from an artistic point of view, I'm really, really proud of. I think that kind of glossed over the fact that it was about a player who wasn't being that well received at the time by the fans.
One player that was being well received, and not just by United fans, bizarrely or strangely enough, and I've not seen that very often, was Marcus Rashford when he did his campaign and he made the government reverse their decision. And you nailed it with the cover, the Hunger Striker cover. I absolutely love that, with Boris Johnson and Matt Hancock and Marcus. I just wanted to ask you a little bit about that, because, I mean, obviously Marcus was flavour of the month. What he did was great, but it is a bit political as well. And is that sort of, you spoke about that with Andy, sort of will say, whether that's all right or not. Were you all right with doing something like that? Were you keen to do something like that when Marcus was sort of campaigning like he was?
I ran it by Andy obviously first, because I didn't want to go to all the trouble of doing it if it was going to cause a problem. But look, I mean, it's a fanzine and it's United. The majority of the readership, I would say, would be in favour of what Marcus was doing. I don't think it was overly political, but it does have it certainly has undertones, and I don't care, because I'm happy, and enough people liked it, and I didn't get very much negative feedback, because, like you say, at the time, even from rival supporters and non-football supporters, everyone thought what Marcus was doing was brilliant, and I couldn't really lose on that respect. And again, I just wanted to sort of, my way of saying thanks really for what he was doing and show support, and that we were all behind him.
I love that. I love the fact that they were all wearing like dinner suits.
Oh, it's the Bullingdon. It's the Bullingdon boy.
Bullingdon Club. Sorry,
outfits. Yeah.
I thought that was a great.
Not a nice thing to have to research, but
Yeah,
it was worth it
absolutely
for a bit of satire.
Bonkers. You did the Don't Stop one a little while ago. I think it was one of your first ones, actually.
It was the first. It was my first.
Was it actually the first one? First one. So that's obviously got a reference to the Stone Roses cover as well. I mentioned there a little bit of a reference to so music seems to tie in with some of these covers as well. Is that something that you look at when you're making some of the covers? Not just the football, obviously, but I've seen a few references in your covers where it's songs or albums and stuff like that.
Definitely, music, pop culture, films, TV shows. What I try to do is I try to avoid just placing and I'm sure people will find examples of where I have done this, but I try to avoid just doing a player kicking football or scoring goal or celebrating. I try to mix it up a little bit. So try to put a player in a situation he wouldn't normally be in. So, for example, in some sort of pop culture reference. So you'll see examples of sort of Louis Van Gaal dressed as Han Solo and Ryan Giggs as Chewbacca on one of the covers. I've got Mourinho as the famous Monty Python, Terry Gilliam artwork. I've got Ibrahimovic as Alan Partridge. So there's loads of little daft things in that in there like that, which I love to put in because and it's just a little reference point for people. I mean, I'd love to have more knowledge of sort of current pop culture trends. So you'll see a lot of references to sort of things in the 80s.
That's what I love it. Mate.
Nice.
Talking about language, Rick. That's what I'm on, mate. It's right up my street. I love the Run DMC one you did with Marshall. Yeah, again, you know, that's sort of my era, and it was great. And it's do you know what? It's weird because I was looking over some of these covers, and you perfectly capture the mood and the thing. And one thing it reminds you of is a little bit of the where you were at that time and the hopes and expectations you had at that time. Because when I was looking, for example, at the Martial, Rashford and Greenwood one, I was thinking these guys are going to score loads of goals this next season. And these guys are going to, do you know what I mean? It's going to be flying. And I'm looking at it now thinking, mate, what's going on?
That's what's known as the curse of the United We Stand cover, which constantly gets thrown at me.
Really?
Yes. Pretty much every time I put a player on the cover for positive reasons, they will either stop scoring, get injured, or get sold. A classic example was Danny Welbeck, who I think he'd scored something. I can't remember what the record was. He'd scored something like 7 goals in 7 games. And
was this under Moyes?
Yes, it probably would. Yeah,
he had a run under Moyes. I think it was 6 in 6.
Yeah, it was brilliant, and he was a local lad, and great. I finally put him on the cover. Got a reason to put him on the cover. The day it came out, I don't think he ever scored again, and I think he was sold like by the end of the season. So it was just like, oh, thanks, Rick, for killing his career at United. Well, you know, sorry.
He might be right.
I'll start putting more Liverpool and City players on the front.
Yeah, can we have a special, like Klopp Guardiola special? We'll forgive you for that one. But no, I'm with you. I used to love Danny Welbeck. I remember that cover actually. Yeah, I was getting really excited when he was scoring because I always used to stick up for him. I was like, finally, it's happening. And then, you know, the wheels came off and he ended up going to Arsenal and he's never really recovered since. Just looking and talk a little bit about United at the minute. Obviously, we're recording this just to give a bit of context, the day of the Crystal Palace game. So, you know, we could end up with a bit of egg on our face, but it's fine. What do you make of the job that Ollie's done? Because I remember your cover where it was like Ollie to the rescue, the picture of him sliding on his knees and obviously reference to 99, he'd come back to the club. What do you make of the job he's doing so far, mate?
Well, I'm a big Solskjaer fan purely because of what he did in his playing days. Now, I know that doesn't mean that you are going to become a great manager. It doesn't mean that's why you should get the job. But he was given the job. I had no say in him getting the job. And because one of my favourite players is in that job, I'm going to support him. I'm not going to hound him out of the club. I think he deserves more than that for what he's done as a player. And just generally, from a managerial point of view, I'd much rather watch football under Solskjaer's being the manager than I did under Mourinho or Van Gaal or Moyes. So yes, he's not won the league yet or the European Cup, but I feel just from a style point of view and the players that he's brought in and the youth players that he's bringing through, I'm enjoying what he's doing at the moment. It'd be nice if he could seal it with something at the end of the season, a bit of silverware at the end of the season. We'll wait and see. But I would never hound him out of the club, honestly. I mean, I don't know what people want. I genuinely feel if we were managed by some kind of Klopp, Guardiola, Pochettino human centipede, we still probably struggle to keep up with the juggernaut that is Manchester City. So I think being second place in the league, still in 2 cups, dropping out of the Champions League this season after the group stages. But other than that, I like it. I like the direction he's heading in.
No, I agree with you, mate. I completely agree with everything you said. You know, I loved him as a player. I can see what he's trying to do, and I think that with the resources we've got and the levels that Manchester City and even Liverpool were at last season, I think he's done well to sort of, however briefly it was, put us in contention. You know, if someone had said to me at the end of last season, at some point next season around Christmas, United are going to be top of the league. I know it was only briefly, but I'd have thought they were crazy. So yeah, I hope he does get given the time, mate. Just one final question: when it comes to the covers, that's what I was asking about, because obviously you're an Ollie fan, and when I notice you don't tend to sort of, there's not a nastiness or a real vindictiveness to your covers. You never sort of, even when you might be taking a mick or whatever, it's like light-hearted. Is that sort of a consensus thing when it comes to managers and players? Do you think like I try and keep it sort of, nothing too nasty sort of thing, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel that United We Stand is that type of magazine, fanzine, I should say. Anyway, yes, it will be critical of the club, and critical of players and owners and managers, but it's. I don't think it leans towards that side, which is why I don't sort of. I could go down the route, I suppose, of satiring what other clubs are doing, like Liverpool, City, Leeds. Have a bit of a dig at the rivals, but I don't want it to be my covers to be sort of negative in that respect. I'd rather just celebrate if I can. Yes, there are the odd one or two where it's slightly possibly critical, but that's internally critical of the club or a player at the time. I much prefer, and I imagine it sells better. The magazine sells better if it's a positive angle rather than a negative one. No,
you're a better man than I am, mate. I'd be going after everyone, mate. I think the magazine.
That's what Twitter's for. Follow me on Twitter if you want to see me going at
mate, right.
Going at City and Liverpool, or even some of our own players. Go follow me on Twitter.
If you're not following Rick, is it Bandit Nana in it on Twitter?
It is Bandit Nana. Yeah.
If you don't do anything today, right, other than buy the poster that Rick's selling with the link in, go and check out his Twitter. All I'm saying is check out the West Ham and City video. Just check that out, right? Because that's genius. That's all I'm going to say. Rick, thanks for coming on the channel. Thanks for having a chat with us. As I've said earlier, go and check out United We Stand. Obviously, there's a link in the description to subscribe and check out not just Rick's covers, obviously, but what's in the magazine and the poster as well. It's for a great cause. Show racism, the red card. Obviously, we want to show our players that were behind them and show them that they can ignore that minority that have been giving them a bit of grief. So, Rick, it's been great chatting to you, mate. Thanks for coming on.
No problem, Jay. Lovely to speak to you.